Hey everybody, this is Perch. Read a ton of comics last night in one sitting, which was nice. I haven't read a bunch of comics at one point before, and I enjoy doing that because it allows me to kind of read, see a bunch of different styles, and it helps form my opinion what I like, don't like, and so that's always fun. And I want to talk. I'm going to do some videos about some of the comics I like, some of the moments I liked, and I find myself more in this state. Maybe this hits home with you, maybe not, where I find myself more liking moments in comics as opposed to the whole comic. And that's, yeah, oftentimes it's because the comic is decompressed, it's being stretched out where it doesn't need to be, or maybe it's tied into an event or some other storyline that isn't, I don't really appreciate, but I do appreciate moments in that comic. So it's not all good, all bad. There's some pieces in there that wind up being entertaining. um, so I was one of those comics was Amazing Spider-Man, and it is nice to see John Romita Jr. back on Spider-Man. It is a case where you still get the feeling like a different inker, or John Romita Jr. The art, he is way closer to his Superman work with Bendis than the John Romita Jr. of say 20 years ago, and maybe that's he's gotten older, his style has evolved, but the characters still have the, I don't know, maybe the uncanny valley is the best way to put it, effect at times with poses and faces and hands and stuff. It looks odd, and I mean some of this is definitely John Romita. Some of it is how the inking is being done. But at any rate, in this comic, we continue the not a lot happens. Basically, this comic this week was a setup for the Vulture. Fight is upset because what his granddaughter, I think his granddaughter, discovers he murdered people, and it's kind of a dumb premise because she goes to see this guy. She was I don't know, liked him. I don't know, is that as I recall, this is a girl who built a vulture suit to do things, and then but she never apparently looked up the fact that he killed people. And so, Peter Parker told him or told her that he killed people, and then she's basically written, said, "You kill people. I can't hang out with you if you've murdered people." And again, I mean, if your grandfather, if you have a relative who is a supervillain, like a supervillain who's attempted multiple crimes, I mean, over a long period of time, right? I mean, it's hard for me to believe that she's sitting here going, I never realized. I knew you robbed banks and caused chaos for Spider-Man, but I didn't know you actually murdered people. It's like, really? I'm sorry, you're dumb. This is what college education is now. They're too busy teaching you about. Yeah, never mind. Um, so the comic is basically a setup of the Vulture's like Val's revenge on Spider-Man. He's definitely going to go kill him now. And then the rest is Spider-Man is going in to see Norman Osborn. There's big, long, drawn-out, awkward conversation with Mary Jane and her new boyfriend, Sean King. And then a little bit of a more interaction with Norman. And then the Vulture attacks him and drops him. And that's a comic. So it's there's not a lot that goes on in this one. It is definitely kind of a filler for the next issue, or I don't know. You get kind of irritated. You get to the end of that, you're like, I paid $4 for this. Damn it. But what I wanted to talk about here is and kind of as I continue to get tons of mail, and I've answered one, but I haven't gone back and done multiple videos on this. And the mail is all basically the same. It's, why does Marvel keep desperately trying to divide Peter and Mary Jane? Why do they do that? Joe Quesada, it was funny is people are like, Joe Quesada's gone now. I would have expected that marriage to have been restored. It's like, well, this comic was already produced before he was gone. That's just how comics work. The comic wasn't produced yesterday. So, that it wouldn't happen that fast. And Marvel's not going to change this. They're not going to reverse the marriage. Sad to say. So, again, why do they keep doing it? I think there's several reasons and answers for that. Most of them are not good answers, but we'll kind of weigh into that. Why is it? Well, for one, Marvel, as I mentioned before, is convinced that the readers of the comic, their audience, does not know how to deal with a married hero like Spider-Man. In their mind, Spider-Man is young, kind of in his 20s, 30s. I don't know, hipster, millennial. I mean, I'm not sure what their mental image of Spider-Man is, but it's basically that he's too young. He's got too much life in front of him to be tied down, married to somebody, or even in a stable relationship. That's not how people in their 20s are. Now that of course explains can be explained a little bit by the fact that a lot of creators are completely oblivious to how the majority of the country operates and works and how relationships go. But okay, plenty of people get married in their 20s. I understand the divorce rate is high, but plenty of people also stick with their partners and or date for a long time, etc. And the idea that people would, it's this somebody who's 19, 20 buying our comic, who I question if that's much of their core audience anyway. I think if we looked at the demographics, what you would discover is the people buying Spider-Man are over 35. The vast majority, meaning more than 50% are in that age range. And I think that there's a potential that gets up to like 70%. It's because the people who have stuck with the comics tend to be the people who have been with comics for quite some time, and because of this thing called the passage of time, they've gotten older this whole time. So there many. It would be wonderful to do a little survey, see where things are at. But the people who the Marvel writers and others go have drinks with, who they hang out with, who they see at cons, who dress up in cosplay and everything else. Those people are younger, stranger, not stranger, but they're ones who are like, I like it. I would like it if Spider-Man one day dated Bucky Barnes. That's what I would like. And so the writer's like, wow, crap, we can't have him dating Mary Jane. Nobody understands what marriage or dating means. And if anything, they'd like him dating a man, alien, or robot. So that's the biggest thing. There's this belief that the continual belief, and it wasn't just Joe Quesada who believed that. Several people at Marvel believe that. Tom Brevoort believed that. So that's kind of why we're doing it. And the other is the reason this keeps going on is that there is a stubbornness at Marvel to say a bunch of fans have said they don't like this. So we're going to double and triple down on it because we don't like people telling us what to do. Now, I can appreciate that. I don't like being told what to do either. And I do have an instinct when people have said in the comments little things like, don't do any more videos like this one. I'm like, I'm definitely doing another video like this one. Definitely. Because screw you. You can't tell me what to do. But here's the thing. This is an amateur YouTube channel, where the person speaking to you is a slightly immature or maybe heavily immature bozo who is not running a multi-million-dollar operation and working with a character worth over $1 billion in IP rights. It's I'm a schmuck. Spider-Man is a major property that you should protect and try and make money off of. If you're an IP portfolio manager, you're just thinking about product and how to evolve it over time and how to make a lot of money off of licensing. The smartest thing you could do would be to have Spider-Man dating Mary Jane, because then you get to sell the moments of Spider-Man dating, married, single but discovering Mary Jane. You get to do all. You got to play in all those fields, meet all of that audience, and you give them kids at some point, again, sort of, and then you've suddenly got kid toys and other things you can license, cartoon. I mean, there is so much money in them restoring the Spider-Man Mary Jane marriage and moving forward like, almost every human being on the planet does, with families and children and all the cash that you can make off of that. That's money. Instead, reverting Peter Parker back to kind of the lovable loser who's got to watch as his former wife / girlfriend, dates Sean King and has to sit there and kind of be sad and sulky about it. That is not money. There again, the belief that everybody likes a petulant, sulky Spider-Man because he's down on his luck and that's a lovable aspect of the character. That's a myth. That's not how people think. That may be how some people at Marvel think people think, but it is not true. This is not a successful outing. And what you are seeing with the sales of Spider-Man is exactly what has been going on for the last 10 years or so. First issue did great. The anniversary they just did great, but not as great. But the rest of the comics are slowly sinking, or frankly, not so slowly sinking, because that's the path Marvel's on now, which means we got to vomit out another anniversary issue soon. We're going to have to do another crossover to get people interested. Maybe the Spider-Man Dark Web will be it. I guess we're gonna tie in Spider-Man with Wolverine to kind of try and boost the sales that way. This is not healthy. There's a way to get a more sustainable audience, but that's listening to your buyers and listening to your audience. And frankly, stop thinking like a comic book person who's been embedded in that world for a while, and start thinking like an IP manager, portfolio manager, because that's what your business is now. And that person would tell you, hey, there's a lot of money in moving forward with him getting back together with Mary Jane. Yeah, that's going to spike sales. Dating Mary Jane, people are going to like that. Marry Mary Jane, you're going to pull people in there. And then hell, go ahead and do yourself a new comic series called Spider-Man Before Mary Jane, where he's out there dating, fucking anybody he can get his hands on. Why not? And then you do Children of Spider-Man, and you do that, and then you do a romance comic called Mary Jane, and you do that. That's money for you. That's your solve. Anyway, that's why they do the things they do in this case. It's weird. It doesn't make sense. Absolutely. But here we are. Anyway, I I don't have better answers for you than that one. People don't like money. Thanks for listening.